So you've opened escrow, and your real estate agent has mentioned the term a few times. It's called contingency or contingencies. And so what exactly is a contingency? I'm Rami Dhillon, and I'm a real estate agent with Realty ONE Group Southwest in Temecula, California. And this is...
I'm Alfred Ramirez from Impulse Capital Partners.
And so, Alfred, today we're going to talk a little bit more about what is a contingency in a real estate contract. So what the heck does that mean?
Contingency, well, contingency, Rami, is basically a term that, that's basically telling the seller or the borrower, it's an agreement between both, saying that, hey, if this happens or if this doesn't happen, that you have a way to back out of that contract legally without any repercussions, basically, is what it is.
So you've got a clause in the contract that says, hey, a certain event has to occur or not occur. And so based on whether it occurs or doesn't occur, the buyer has the option of moving forward with the transaction or not.
Out,
Right. So now, for example, the three major contingencies in the contract are what? Appraisal,
loan contingency, and inspection.
Right.
You can add or you can take those out.
Right.
All depending on what you're doing.
Right. You could choose not to have a contingency. Again, it has to be negotiated within the contract. You can choose not to have an appraisal contingency, meaning, hey, if the house doesn't appraise, I'm going to buy it anyway. So a contract at $500,000, appraisal comes in at $475,000. I'm going to buy it anyways, but you're going to have to pay the difference out of your pocket, that $25,000.
If you're getting a loan.
If you're getting a loan.
Yeah.
Right. If it's all cash,
then it don't matter.
It doesn't matter. Okay, you're good, right? So those are three main contingencies, like Alfred just mentioned: appraisal, loan approval, and home inspection.
Yeah.
So
how long are those contingencies usually?
In the standard residential purchase agreement in California, it is 17 days for all three of those, and those can be negotiated to be less or more. When I'm representing a seller, I usually like to counter the home inspection contingency to about 10 days, because I would like for the buyer to move very quickly and do their inspection and decide whether they're going to be moving forward with this transaction or not, based upon what they've seen in the house. Anything that may have gone wrong, maybe the water heater doesn't work or whatever. So
now what happens? Are those calendar days or those business days?
Those are those are calendar days. Yeah. So 10 days from the date of acceptance of the offer. Now you could make it...
You can make it business days.
Yeah.
I try to make mine business days.
Yeah.
Because now if I do 15 business days, if you do 15 business, you got 3 weeks.
Yeah, you got a little bit more time. So you can write the offer however you want it. So it could be, like Alfred says, 17 days. And then it also can be not just business days, it can be calendar days, but you can also shorten that time period.
Now, say my borrower, sometimes I do loans as well. So say my borrower, for whatever reason, I can't get an appraiser out there for 3 weeks, and I have a 10-day contingency, like you said.
Right.
Well, how does that happen? Is that negotiable? Can I go back to the table and renegotiate that period with you, saying, hey, you know what? For whatever reason, my appraiser can't be out there until the third week of January, instead of 2 weeks.
Right. Well, yes. If you're already in escrow, you already have an executed contract, and 10 days have gone by, you can approach the seller and say, "Hey, I need more time." You can get an extension on that contingency. You can get extensions on any contingencies if both parties agree to it. So yes,
awesome.
Seller may not agree to it. So that's the thing. So
depending both parties have to agree.
Yeah. Depending on what factors are involved, what the reason for delaying that contingency. If it's something really reasonable that seller might understand, if you can convince the seller, they'll do it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so the reason I want a appraisal contingency is if the house doesn't appraise, correct? And the reason I would want inspection contingency is, what if the house has a leak that I didn't see, right?
A leak, mold,
anything that's wrong with the house that
there's a big crack going through the foundation. Who knows what?
You didn't see it on the visual walkthrough.
Right.
And the reason you would want a loan contingency would be hey, something came up with the loan that you didn't qualify for, or maybe that loan officer can't close the deal for whatever reason.
Or something pops up on your credit that doesn't allow you to move forward with your.
Or you didn't listen to your loan officer, and the loan officer said, "Don't open no credit cards," and you went and opened up a credit card, and now you don't qualify.
He also said, "Don't buy a boat, don't buy a motorcycle, don't buy a new car, because that's going to affect your credit and your debt." So listen to your loan officer when he tells you not to do that. So these things can affect the loan approval process. So that's why we have those contingencies, because things can happen.
Yep.
So they're basically an out, right?
It's an exit. It's basically an exit for the
buyer.
It's basically mainly for the buyer, but the seller has certain contingencies on their end as well.
Right. The seller could have a contingency. Like the seller could have a contingency of, hey, I need to find a new property
prior to you
before
closing.
For it as a contingency to closing this transaction of the house that this buyer is buying. So there can be other contingencies as well, but we're just talking right now for the three main ones that you encounter in a normal a transaction. So what happens after those 17 days? Because those 17 days come, do they contingencies just all of a sudden fall off? No, you got to sign off on them, right?
Yeah.
So what'll happen is the seller's agent is going to send a contingency removal saying, hey, you're good. Loan was approved. You had no problems. The inspection, you're satisfied with everything you've seen.
Yeah.
The appraisal came in at value. You're fine. So now, and there could be other things in the contingency removal too. As if there was an HOA, you need to review the HOA documents and whatnot. So there are other contingencies.
Now, what happens if I don't sign that contingency waiver or that contingency? Hey, I signed everything off, and it's 21 days, and now for whatever reason I was busy, and now I'm just looking at my inspection report now at 20 days.
That's a good question. That's a very important question. So when I'm representing the seller, when day 17 comes about, I will send the contingency removal to the buyer's agent and said, hey, it's time. We need to get this signed. Now, if we're on day 21, that's
way past.
4 days later.
Past.
So I have to protect my seller's best interest. So if on day 18 and the buyer's agent is ignoring me and I'm not getting a response, I start worrying.
Yeah.
Why aren't they removing those contingencies? There's got to be a darn good reason not to. I will, and I can send them a notice to a buyer to perform to remove those contingencies. And that notice basically says, hey, if you don't remove those contingencies within a 48-hour period, or whatever period you want to put in there, it could be 72, whatever, then the seller has the right to cancel the contract at that point, after that time period is over, that 48 hours.
Yeah.
So that kind of puts a little fire in the buyer's butt to get those contingencies signed.
But the buyer's still protected, though.
Buyer's protected?
Now, say on that 21 day or the 20th day, I looked at it and I said, oh, shit, this house is falling apart.
Yeah.
I missed that foundation. I still have the right to back out because
Absolutely.
I never signed that contract.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if the buyer does not sign the contingencies off, the buyer has the right to back out. But as a prudent seller's agent, I would send out that notice to buyer to perform immediately, because there could be something going on in the buyer's mind that he doesn't want to move forward. And if he doesn't, he needs to tell me so I can cancel the contract and get a new buyer and protect my seller's interest.
Yeah, and you always want to keep up with your dates. These are just hypothetical
Right.
situations that I'm just mentioning, because a lot of people don't know, hey, if I don't waive that right after my 15 days or my 17-day contingencies, they don't know that they still have the right to cancel.
Right.
They figure, hey, their 15 days is up, I no longer can get out of the contract.
As long as they haven't signed those contingencies off, they can do that.
Yeah.
So,
okay, awesome.
Anyway, so that's it. It's pretty simple. 3 main contingencies. You can have more contingencies if you want. You can add anything to a
as
contract.
many contingencies as you want.
Right. You can add anything to a contract that you want. Well, so that was, we had mentioned on one of our previous videos of the home buying process. And in those videos, we had mentioned what contingencies were. So we want to talk a little bit about what those were today. So we hope you enjoyed our video. I hope it was informative. And please leave some comments.
Like our channel.
Like our channel. Subscribe to our channel as well. I think it's on the bottom left corner there. And we will see you on the next video.
On the next video.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.